Now I'm ready for your response.
Well, thank you. You know, I watched the video too. That was even long before the arrests. And beyond the fact that some very heinous and scandalous things were said, there also appeared to be some sort of maybe a mental challenge too. That an individual who would say such heinous things, who would speak in this manner, could also possibly be suffering from some other mental psychosis, if you want to call it that.
What made you think so?
Well, I wasn't too certain, you know what I mean. And, you know, I would hate and I would shudder to think that we would want to try and politicize a matter of this kind. I also do believe that some of the things he said are things that I've heard many other people who have said, probably in some cases even a lot worse than that, or at least persons that I consider even a touch more discerning. You know that we have a very acrimonious political atmosphere where we've had not just apostles, some very key leading members, pastors, reverends, name them, who have said equally very, very terrible things, really.
Does that make it less of a crime, though?
Well, I wouldn't want to look at the point of the crime for now, but I just want to say that if we want to debate a subject of this kind, I think we must also all do more to discourage persons of similar ilk or other stakeholders, whatever their backgrounds or where they belong, from making such rancorous and vile statements, first and foremost.
Arrest and prosecution, that would be a way of discouraging people, wouldn't it?
That's exactly the point I was coming to. That you find also there's a certain sort of discrimination in who is arrested and who is not. Of course, Apostle Kwejo has been arrested, but there are many others. And I'm sure if you look at the media portals, videos exist, it's replete with many individuals who have said very, very heinous things. Political actors who say really, 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 really terrible things. I work for President Mahama, for example. I've heard persons who have said very, very, very vile things about him being involved in murdering who, setting up coup plotters and doing what. You know, all of these things, they border on a lot of, may I say, loose talk, really. Talk that does not in any way inure to our benefit. Talk that is at best very disparaging of the persons that they say these things about. I would also want to look at it from the perspective of criminal actions, really. And I don't want to prejudice the outcome of this one that is currently on the table for discussion. Indeed, the gentleman, I'm told, is on remand, that there are many charges, including that of possession of narcotics. That is actually a very serious charge. I do know that he's got some lawyers who are working to defend him, at least so that bail can be granted, pending going into the substantial issues. But I would like to leave that one as a test and come out to the platforms where we all use political platforms under the guise of supporting one political persuasion or the other, to spew vitriol, to make these very unprintable remarks about key individuals, and it goes unchecked. Recently, actually, President Mahama was actually pushed practically to seek for redress from the Criminal Investigations Department of the police regarding pronouncements by one of the regional chairpersons of the New Patriotic Party. You know, sometimes most of our leaders are extremely tolerant, because you do know that when you're a leader, you must lead by example. If you were to pick up anybody who said vile things about you, who said very insulting or abusive things about you, your person, your conduct, or even brought your reputation into disrepute, we know that once the reputation is lost, no matter what you get in damages for defamation, the harm has already been done. It will take you just as long to redeem that image or whatever value of it you've lost as a person. There have been many cases of defamation in Ghana, but you do know that sometimes you'd go and Google the individual's name and you still find those disparaging comments are still on the portals. So certainly a matter that is of grave concern, not just to me, but I know many citizens have spoken at length about the level of depravity in our politics, in our conversation around our politics, in the things we actually can't say about political opponents. So be that as it may, if indeed the police have reason to believe that this is a gentleman who has committed a crime, for example, Oh, certainly he should be arrested and arraigned before court. But the questions you should be asking was at the time of the arrest. Did they even have an arrest warrant? Did they carry out the arrest in the manner that should have been done? I am even told that his Miranda rights were not read to him. So even at the time when he was taken to the BNI, he had not been told that this was why he was being picked up. Yes, we saw photographs of him holding a substance believed to be weed. I have never seen weed physically. I don't know what it looks like. I saw the look even on his face, the expression on his face. He didn't even appear to know what he was holding. Note that the same individual, we've seen other videos. We have no way of verifying these videos. Who had actually, what do you know what it was, praying over a tombstone or something, purportedly being the tomb of His Excellency the President's father. You know, there have been all these videos about this individual. I've picked up also on student platforms of individuals who know him and know his family quite well. They have expressed enormous surprise at the turn of events, and of course with the sorts of pronouncements that they heard him making. You know, Kojo,
do you think all of these, peripheral issues have anything to do with what he's been accused of? And I'll take your answer to that in just a moment. Right now, though, it's time for us to bring you the Joy Business Minute by the kindness of Consolidated Bank Ghana. CBG, we stand with you.
Hello, my name is Darryl. Welcome to the Joy Business Minute brought to you by Consolidated Bank Ghana. We stand with you. Government is looking at raising almost 20 billion cedis in bonds and treasury bills for the third quarter of this year. A fundraising calendar released by the Finance Ministry was, however, quick to add that 15.8 billion of that amount will be rolling over existing bonds. Some importers of used vehicles say they would have no choice than to pass on the cost of demurrage and rent charges at the ports to buyers. The importers have been saddled with huge levies as they have struggled to clear goods since last Monday. Meanwhile, ship owners and agents are pushing for some sort of financial immunity over delays in clearing goods at the ports. Elsewhere, the UK's economy shrunk by 20.4% in April, the largest monthly contraction on record, as the UK spent its first full month in lockdown. And that's the Joy Business Minute, brought to you by Consolidated Bank Ghana. We stand with you.
Right, so nothing is impossible, even in these challenging times. CBG, your most trusted bank, gives you *924# to get digi with it, making it easier to get used to the new normal of banking and business transactions. Now with *924#, get digi with it. You can conveniently perform banking transactions anywhere at any time. So bank safe with CBG *924# and get digi with it. You may alternatively use the ATMs and electronic platforms. Now all branches are open and poised to serve you with first-class customer service should you need in-branch services. Note that they enforce all safety directives for both staff and you, the cherished customer. So follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at CBG Bank Limited. For further inquiries, call 0302 216 000. Get digi with it with CBG *924#. CBG, we stand with you. Okay, so our guest today, Political Friday, is Joyce Bawah Mogtari. Once again, let me remind you, we did ask the NPP to send us a representative. They didn't. Okay, so Joyce Bawah Mogtari, we've been talking about Apostle Kwabena, Apostle Kwabena Owusu-Agyei, who has been charged with threat of death, offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace, and possession of narcotics. Now, you raised a number of related issues. You talked about how people have been saying things about him, his family, things they know. You talked about another video of him doing something else at a tombstone, and the belief that that tombstone is that of a relative of the president's. So you've mentioned all of these things, but I'm wondering, do they in any way have any bearing on what he has been arrested and charged with?
No, I would have loved to give a very clear response to this particular inquisition, but I'm also reliably informed by his lawyers that till date they are still denying him access with his lawyers. His lawyers have been unable to engage him. You know, we live in a country that has a constitution. We have laws that actually seek to protect the rights of citizens, irrespective of what one is accused of or suspected of, you understand. We still have to follow the law and do the needful. If one is suspected of any commission of whatsoever a crime and has been duly arrested, why would he not be allowed to engage his lawyers, see his lawyers, or speak to them? Why even take a statement of a criminal who has not been given legal representation or who does not have legal representation? Indeed, in most jurisdictions, even you'll be given a court-appointed lawyer or solicitor to come and talk to you and guide you. So if that has not been done, it means that the arrest actually borders on the unlawful. And I look forward to the lawyers actually filing a writ of habeas corpus to compel the state to do the needful, to respect his rights as an individual first and foremost. But you see, I would always come back to the other societal matters that we all know about, where we've had people like the Reverend Owusu Bempah, we've had even great individuals, members of parliament, very senior most individuals, stakeholders, and many other party operatives who make such pronouncements all the time, threaten, hail and brimstone, make all sorts of threats against other people. We've heard even the Honorable Kennedy Japan boastfully telling people about what he's caused the police to do and what they have not done. This also feeds into a certain trend that I'm afraid is actually creeping into our discourse. These arrests, arbitrary as they sound, they keep happening.
Are they arbitrary though? I mean,
well,
if
it's relative, and that's why I say, when we dwell in the realms of legality, we must also be very careful how we navigate the waters. They can seem very, very obvious to the unaided eye, but to the initiated, you do know that when someone is arrested, first and foremost, your charges should be read out to you. For example, your Miranda rights. You should be allowed your lawyers to come and help you, guide you to make a statement and what have you. You are actually allowed to be held for not more than 48 hours. You understand, except where it's a very heinous crime and the police believe that you are a flight risk and that you have not been able to get anybody to guarantee the fact that they will produce you before court. But of course, they have to have produced you before court, and then a bail bond will be posted. And if you are able to meet the requirements, you are then granted bail, and you would always have guarantors, one or two, who would ensure that they present you to court at the next appointed date, or you are remanded into police custody pending further investigations. So the law itself clearly outlines what should be done in such circumstances. But where you arrest an individual, I don't want to dwell too much on what he says or what he was saying.
Why not, though?
Because there are other similar conversations that have taken place. And those conversations have not led to any arrests of this kind.
So should they not all be arrested?
But certainly if they are, then let's start from where we all know that it starts from. And if other similar arrests have been taking place for people who have made statements bordering on such matters, then of course the conversation will be brought into a totally different arena.
So will you be calling for the arrest of others who have been, recorded or filmed committing similar
if people
offenses?
make hate speech, for example, if people say despicable things, if people threaten to murder others or take a person's life, for example, why not?
So that is
what
a
is
call
good
you
for
would
the
make.
goose is good for the gander. If the playing field is the same, then you won't have any cause to have these conversations. Then it wouldn't matter whose oar is being God, because then we would all know that this person has actually said something and needs to be prosecuted. You understand? But where we have heard, and I always say that because I work with President Mahama, I listen to the vilification, to the unprintable, to the very low comments that are sometimes made by key actors, persons who should at least know better. And yet I don't hear them being arrested. You understand? And I think that the standards must be the same for everybody.
Right.
But note also that this is a government that actually prides itself, because then candidate Akufo-Addo, then member of parliament, was Attorney General when the libel laws were actually repealed. You understand? So I believe that in that sense, we should be able to guarantee freedoms up to a certain point. You understand? I think that the media in particular should be highlighting some of these ills that are currently, gradually creeping into our conversation. It is why I would have been hoping that maybe the NPP would have been present, and then we can actually have a very balanced and equitable conversation around this.
Winston, I want to bring you in.
You recall that, for example, there were challenges with many other issues, and I remember I've always told people that sometimes even there must be a certain modicum of tolerance in how we do things. I believe that President Mahama was deemed as being so friendly to the point where even when some of these things were said, arrests were not caused to happen, People were not picked up arbitrarily. People were not forced even to recant or even taken to court for that matter. This is actually in recent years the very first time that President Mahama has actually allowed his lawyers to file a complaint against such pronouncements because they border on very sensitive issues. And he felt that there was a need actually to put an end to it. It even forced the family of the former late President Atta Mills to come out and put something on record. This is a matter that was of a very public and very painful moment in our history and should not be toyed with. But we have people who have turned it into a point of reference all the time just because you want to disparage somebody, you want to spoil someone's political ambitions, you want to create a certain impression. I think that beyond what is happening in this particular instance, and I would want to speak to the lawyers after this to find out whether they indeed have filed the writ of habeas corpus to compel the police to allow him right or access to his lawyers to defend himself as effectively as he can. But moving from there, let's work to condemn hate speech.
Right.
We've heard what is happening in the U.S. with George Floyd in particular, and I hear people who are all over the place supporting the movement against how blacks are being treated across the world. I think that all types of human rights abuses form part of this narrative, and all of us have a responsibility to work to improve on our public discourse and the sorts of things that we say.
Right.
So if such arrests will cause examples and set as a deterrent, so be it. But let's not use it arbitrarily.
Okay, now I want to bring Winston in at this point, but before that, you made a call on the media to play its role in highlighting the importance of freedom of speech and so forth. And I think you're right that the media has a role to play in educating people here. And if we are highlighting freedom of speech, then we must also highlight the limits to it. It's important to do that. Certain things you can say are still criminal. Certain things you say can still end you locked up. And it's important for us to highlight that difference. Winston.
Exactly, because I like the part that you make about certain things that you can say which are criminal, and so you must be mindful of the things that you say. Honorable Bawah Mogtari makes the point, that she asked the question whether, his charges were read to him, because we've seen the video has shown what is supposed to be a warrant, which we do not know.
No. We have confirmed that.
Yes, and so once he doesn't have access to his lawyers now, it makes a lot of things difficult. You're handicapped in knowing what has been done to him and what hasn't been done to him now. It's also important, and I like the fact that we all admit that what he says is not the best. Honorable Bawah Mogtari makes the point about things haven't been said in the past. I'm just curious because I know that when Kenneth Japong made the infamous statement where he ended with a declaration of war, he was picked up by the police, sent to court, which he won. Okay. I'll be happier if we find out. I know of Abronye's statements that he's made. She didn't mention any, but I mean Abronye, Enimo's favorite Abronye, who's made those statements. He's been reported. He's been invited by the CID. Since we're talking about these, it will be important to even know some other statements which have gone unnoticed and unattended to by the police. By so doing, we would be able to name and shame and also look at how these things have been done. But just a bit about a prayer with Apostle Usweje, that's the name, right? Usweje. So I've seen that video myself. I've seen the video. Initially, it was said to have been a prayer at the tomb. It's actually in Accra. That video. It's actually in Accra. It's at the Akufo-Addo roundabout. So that's where he went to offer those prayers. So it's not about going to a tomb to offer those prayers. But I'd be happy if Honorable Bawah Mogtari could help us with some other statements that have come up that have been unattended to by the police, so that we can condemn all of them together.
Well, I think that history is replete with all of these stories. For example, you just mentioned Abronye from the Bawah region, for example. I believe that until President Mahama actually lodged a complaint, there had been no attempts whatsoever to cause his arrest or to caution him or anything. So I think that these are great examples. Some of the things the Reverend Owusu Mempa has been saying, it probably borders on a lot of mischief, but they would always say that it is said by a pastor is a prophecy, and the prophecies always refer only to the deaths predictions about deaths of key individuals and stakeholders. And there's an individual we all know is actually very, very political. So, it does bring to question how we conduct ourselves. And, we hope that the police will not allow themselves to become pawns in this game and pick and choose or cherry pick when they want to arrest and when they don't. When you exist in places where the law is applied equitably, equally, and without prejudice or bias in any form of whatever, then you do know that certainly something is being done and done right. It is why I said that there are many precedents of other despicable, even more despicable things that have been said about key individuals. Very, very, very despicable things. Some of them you would shudder even to repeat. You wouldn't even want to play them as a voice for people to listen to. But you can check. Key individuals. And of course, even when the Honorable Kennedy Japan was picked up, seriously, what was the outcome? He went straight back to the studio, bragged about all that had happened, and said a lot worse about the individuals he promised to go after. I think that we need to extend the debate more to creating of awareness. What you should and should not say. I remember there was a time when there was a very senior lawyer who came out to say there was nothing wrong with insulting the president, that he is a president and everybody has a right to insult him. But there's an extent that you do not go to, irrespective of whether it's within your freedom so to do. You can't criticize anybody, but you should criticize within a certain modicum of respect. There are even in countries where there's some words that you do not use.
Yes.
Where people edit statements and some words come up immediately, they'll be blocked because the words used are inflammatory, they lead to the wrong conclusions, they are not allowed because they are discriminatory in nature, they may not even necessarily be insulting. We have all of these things. So I think sometimes we should not belabor these issues. I believe that it is a matter that has come up for great criticism and condemnation. We are coming up to an election. Let's be very sure that we condemn in no uncertain terms. In fact, even you in the media can call out the police, for example. You can call out the powers that be to investigate. You can even stop the microphone if I were to say unprintable things here. I think those are some of the things you can do. This will send out a very clear message that I will not allow my studios or my microphones to be used to voice vitriol or say vociferous things or make very unpalpable comments about people. It is something that I think we must work very hard, because even our children are following these bad examples. So certainly do not say defamatory things or print defamatory things. Do not, exceed the freedoms that the Constitution guarantees for you, but live within them. But where you do go beyond those freedoms, certainly some level of admonition is required, that the police have a role to play, that the CID has a role to play, that we all as citizens have a role to play. But certainly irrespective of the crime, even for the crime of murder, you are allowed access to legal representation. You are granted bail, sometimes depending on the circumstances. So I believe that every criminal, irrespective, we should not preclude the outcome of these conversations, but we must be sure that what is lawful, what is needful is done, and that the law must be seen to be done properly. And it's justice for each and every person. Fair justice, a fair playing ground. And I hope that eventually the CID or the police or whoever has custody would allow reason to prevail and do what is needful under and in the eyes of the law.
Is the NDC as a party going to get involved in this in any way? Are you going to provide legal assistance or anything at all to the individual in question?
Well, I'm not too sure, but I recall that at the time when this conversation even started, when these matters came to the fore, I remember it was, as usual, it was almost becoming political. Then, of course, it happened that he was not allowed any legal representation. But I do know that one of our senior lawyers, Mr. Victor Adawudu, is actually currently the lawyer on record. He has come to the aid of this individual, and of course, Mr. Sosu as well, who we know has always been very, very inclined towards human rights cases of this kind.
He's also a member of the NDC.
Absolutely. So, yes, I do know that they are actually representing, but as I said, they are yet to engage their clients. So hopefully maybe by close of day we will receive an update on the outcome. But let's all together condemn such unwarranted attacks, such threatening statements, such vitriol being poured on any individual, even if it was you and I, Kojo. I think we should condemn it in similar measure.
Right.
But certainly his arrest on the record is simply not lawful, and I believe that the courts would ensure that the needful is done, that the police itself would do the needful by this individual. that the person is innocent until proven guilty.
Okay, this is a family conversation. Okay, politics is something that affects us all. So we want to hear from you as well. Okay, so as we engage with Joyce and Winston and Nimwa, myself, we want to hear you too. So call us 0302-216-541, 0244-340-437. And you know, we're thinking, does free speech mean loose talk? How should we check it as a people? You know, and if you like, let's put the question this way. There are two ways of evening the playing field. We can either say whatever you like, anything goes, nobody gets in trouble. Or we can say, if you say the wrong thing, regardless of who you are, you will be dealt with. Which is better for us as a nation? Free, or restrictions on all? I'd love to hear your voice. Call us 0302-216-541. Isa is in Nima. Isa, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to hear you, my brother.
How are you?
I'm very well, Isa.
How's my sister there, Joyce, Bawah, Mogtari?
Your sister is doing well, isn't she, Joyce?
I'm surprised.
Yes, I'm very well.
Joyce, Bawah, Mogtari. I want to ask her something. The man arrested, he said, Dankwa Dudi Dufoko, he killed his brother at Chamensa. I want to know, in law, in our culture, if somebody said you kill your brother and that person is not alive, one, the lawyers, the human rights lawyers, that dead person don't deserve a human right. That person, it didn't deserve any human right. And you as a pastor, standing somewhere, accusing somebody of killing somebody. Let's forget about the issue boss. It's a sister or an aunt. If she doesn't worry about somebody attacking a lady, once already they say ladies first, ladies first, ladies first. If she doesn't worry about that, at least we want her to advise all of us to desist from doing this, what the man did, attacking somebody just like that. Because of politics, we can say so many things, but you can't attack somebody. The person has a family, he has grandchildren. This lady is his boss. She has a husband. It's somebody's sister, somebody's mother. If this man, with that video, when I saw it, I can't even replay again. It's not fair. It's not fair. Ghana is not like other countries. If you check about Rwanda 94, people are going to court up today because of they cost something. They say something with the tongue. It cost some people's life. But Ghana, we are not like that. We don't want that something to happen in Ghana like this. Advise her. She's a minister. I know her. We know her. Her family is marrying my family. But we don't want this to happen in Ghana. At least advise. A church can say something and the thing will go far. It's not like me, Isa. So please, Madam Joyce, I'm listening to you. I want you to say something good. We don't want any comparison. This one, you are a minister before you can report. They'll come and arrest the person. The police cannot go around arresting people like mad people.
Isa, thank you for sharing. We'll get some responses to your comments and questions from Joyce in a moment. But John is in Abukubi. Hi, John. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well, John.
Okay, so I just wanted to say we are all concerned about the kind of language we use on our airspace, and probably you also have to notice the kind of language people even use on Facebook. It's so disturbing. I think it has to stop some way, somehow. I am a bit concerned with an attempt to draw parallels that, well, in our time, we took certain actions and we gave people some kind of liberty. I think it has to stop now, irrespective of whatever the person is, whichever party the person in, whatever the approach is, it has to stop. It's not nice. We are giving the opportunity for our children to also learn this attitude that it's wrong. I say so with a lot of pain that the earlier generation has felt that woefully. If they had put in structures to nip this in the bud, it wouldn't be a problem for us to raise it revisit from time to time. So that's all that I want to say about it. Let's forget about politicizing it. What was said was wrong. Everyone knows it.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much for calling. Tema, next. And here's Sandra. Hi, Sandra.
Hi. Hi, Kojo. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Thanks for calling us.
Well, good morning to Auntie Joyce. Auntie Joyce, your daughter on the line anyway. Your loved daughter.
Morning. How are you, Sandra?
I'm good, Mommy. How are you too?
Very well, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Kojo, to the point, I think these days the way we make our speeches is quite unfortunate. And even when we go on the social media, Facebook stuff, and the comments people put, the kind of words they use, it's bad. It's bad. We have to watch it. The little ones, what are you teaching us? What are they teaching us? When they are on radio stations, especially what I've observed, especially on the some of the tree-speaking stations. It's a simple argument and they are as if they are fighting. People are listening, our children are listening. What are they teaching us? We are begging them. They have to watch their words, their tone. Even though we have the free speech, I think they should be careful. Aside that, I think justice, I don't know if the word justice is the right word. If A did it and it's bad, if B does it, it's also bad. It shouldn't always be selective justice. If I don't belong to this party or I don't wear this political colors, whatever I say is wrong. I think we have to watch it. It's not helping us. It's creating a whole lot of confusion among people. So we are begging the authorities. They should watch it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thanks for calling. Let's go to Teshi. Here's Peter. Good morning, Peter.
Yeah, good morning, Kojo. How are you?
I'm very well, Peter.
Yeah, Auntie Joyce, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Peter.
Yes, my problem this morning is that a media, assuming that me, Peter, I'm coming to talk on this Joy FM, and then you know that what I'm going to say is a wrong thing, you really cut me off. And this woman was doing this. There's media people are coming to interview him. If I am here, I'm going to kill other president or somebody, and the media didn't come, nobody will know about it. It's only that the security people will be just a president and say, if I'm coming to do something, I'll be arrested. But the problem, media want to sell their papers or they want to be at top of the issues. So when you are going to a toilet, they will follow you to the toilet. That is the problem. Before this man started talking, who do the video? This man cannot do his own video and just spread it virus. That is the problem that we are having. You know that the politician, the person is corrupt or the person is doing something bad, which is not good for society to see. Oh, young children, those are going today, just to have a knowledge about what the person is doing, just blackmail the person. Nobody know about it. We don't know. So the problem is the media. So when we know what this man is doing, it's just not good for society. Just don't go and go for press conference. Oh, I'm going to have a press conference. The media will be around talking to me or asking questions, unnecessary questions. Please, we beg the media. They are the people that spreading the thing virus. That's why that we have a social media today, that anything that if you have, excuse me for my language, if you have something to do with your wife in the room and the social media is there, it will go virus. Please, we are begging the media.
Thank you so much. And I think it's important that you raise the responsibilities of the media here. We have a role to play in all of this. But I must also state we do not know who captured that original video of this apostle making those statements. We don't know if it was a member of the media or just a member of the public who captured it and uploaded it onto social media. So yes, media has a role, but we all as individuals have responsibilities. Richard is in Odumase Krobon. Hi, good morning, Richard.
Hi, good morning. Yes, I'm fine.
I'm not bad, though. But Richard, you sound like breakfast hasn't happened yet. Are you okay? Everything all right?
Yeah, everything is okay.
I want to hear some energy in my brother Richard's voice on a Friday.
Okay.
Anyway, what's on your mind? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I want to say thank you for the good work you do for Ghana. And my concern is this: when someone should speak against an individual, I think the individual has to take a responsibility by maybe informing a state institution to take the matter up. But we are talking about where somebody is against a state institution. So we should allow the state institutions to also do their work. If somebody is speaking against the electoral commissioner who is working for Ghana, then the police has to take it up. So comparing that one to where people are speaking about individuals, and also when somebody has done the wrong, we shouldn't find ways to justify, because it will come back to come and haunt us in the future. Yeah, so that's what I think we have to be doing. We should stop the politics of where somebody speaks against an individual. Let's say the one over there is talking about when former president was in power, people have been speaking against, but he decided not to take the matter up. I think the right thing should be done. Let's allow the state institutions to do. If he has said that they shouldn't take the matter off, that does not mean when it is happening now we should allow it to go like that.
Thank you so much. All right, Doenya next, and Ishal, is that your name? Ishal?
I shall.
Wow, that's a new one. Hello, Ishal, how are you?
Hello, Kojo. I'm fine, thank you. Good morning, and thanks for the good work that you have been doing.
Thank you for calling.
Kojo.
Yes, sir.
We are not trying to encourage our women to hold positions. Charlotte Osei was the EC chair. She has to be taken away. A lot of things were said about her. Some women came out to condemn it. The same thing is being perpetrated against Jane. So if we are doing this to our women, how are we going to encourage the young up-and-coming ones to enter into public office? We are not helping our women. We are not helping them at all. So I'm expecting your guest, Auntie Joyce, to condemn every issue or every pronunciation which is not right. She should condemn it. What the pastor said against Jane was condemnable, as how we did for Charlotte. We should protect our women, so that, because our women, they are our foundation. They are our foundation. If we leave them that way and they are being attacked left, right, center, up, down, Master, we are not going to get anywhere.
That's an important point raised by Aishal. You know, that sometimes in the midst of all of this, we forget that the victims of this sort of hate speech, you know, unfortunately, when it comes to the Electoral Commission especially, it's always been women. Unfortunate. Kweku is at Lakeside Estate in Boucher. Yes, Boucherian. Kweku, good morning.
Good morning.
What's up? What's on your mind?
Yes, I think this whole thing is happening because we've not allowed institutions to be independent in this country. Why am I saying this? You hear a politician saying, I'm going to ask this institution to do this. Like what's happening now. You hear a political party defending or speaking for an institution who shouldn't work, who shouldn't be the case. Our institutions in Ghana are not working. Recently, the police chief in Houston was on air condemning what Donald Trump did. In Ghana, no one, IGP dares not do that. The chief of defense staff dare not. So our institutions have failed. Political parties or political players must allow our institutions to work.
If we begin doing that, these things will stop no matter what. Because if a president comes and appoints an IGP, the IGP will be always supporting that party. So until those things stops, Ghana is not going to grow. And we should stop saying that Ghana is not US. Because if US have been in existence they've had democracy for 200 or something years, and Ghana we've not had, we are 60 something years. We shouldn't do that comparison. We are in a modern era. You can't say my child attends Saito and another child is attending whatever, Ghana International. But they all go and do the same exams. We are all writing the same exams across the globe. So we should stop doing this US and Ghana. We should learn from the best and adapt the best. We should stop this politics that is killing our states. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for calling. Right, Gulf City next. Here's Gafaru. Hi, Gafaru.
Yeah, hello. Good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Please, I just have a little concern. I want to contribute to your program.
Please.
With regards to what Madam Bawah Mogtari is saying, in the first place, the previous government or any past government official should not try to rationalize what the man has did. They were in power. If somebody did something that was wrong to any state institution or any state body, they were supposed to take it on and call for the arrest for the person, irrespective of whether it's your mama or whoever was in power. It is wrong, and let's get it right. Let's stop comparing that the past government will be so keep on doing it. No. But I also understand that they have to respect the rights of the individual. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gafaru in Gulf City. And perhaps in a short while we'll take a few more calls. But let's handle what we've got so far. Have we got some tweets and texts as well anymore?
Yes, definitely. We have quite a number of text messages. I'll just go through a few. This one says, Ghanaians will never ever make mistakes again and vote for our old grandfather, the president, and his government. Whether this government is in bed with the Electoral Commission or not, Ghanaians have already made up their minds to change this kind of bad dictatorship governance. What Nanado and his government seem to be more interested in borrowing and have nothing to show Ghanaians. That's from Kweku Mason in Mataheko. Good morning, Kojo. If I were NPP, I wouldn't dare debate infrastructure issues in this country because President Akufo-Addo has nothing to show. I'll entreat him to stop making a mockery of himself. Once again, may I know what right Kennedy Agyapong has to direct national security to arrest someone? Is he the national security coordinator? That's from James in Afenya.
Right, interesting issue there. Emmanuel is in Adan. Hi, Emmanuel. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for calling, Emmanuel. I'm sure you have some thoughts.
I want to contribute to your program.
Please go ahead, Emmanuel.
About the arrest of the pastor. Everything that pastor has said is condemnable. I mean, you can't just stand up and talk of a woman, whatever that woman is having, that stupid lady. I mean, I don't want to repeat all those things.
So please don't.
It is not appropriate. But the way and the manner the national security officers arrested him to, that one too, it is not proper. And later on, display him with some kind of things and other things. I mean, our institutions should work. And they should stop listening to these politicians. By then, we will all be okay. If wrong is wrong, and you are still using wrong to do wrong, I mean, you are not going anywhere. We are not going anywhere. You are holding a warrant. You could not even read the warrant to the person. You could not even tell the person why you are there to pick him, the offense and all this. And later on, you took him. You could not even search him there. You took him and then display some kind of things. I mean, we should be professional. I think that will help us. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for calling us. Right. Joyce, your thoughts. Lots have been said, haven't they?
Very, very interesting perspectives, and I believe that most of them actually encapsulate what I was trying to actually elucidate on earlier, that indeed we need not cherry pick in these matters. We need to take this matter very seriously. For quite some time, I have heard of many persons within the media space actually calling for a certain law on hate speech here in Ghana. In most countries, they have them, as I gave an example of initially. You know, I also think that one of the comments that stood out for me was the one about women. We all suffered a great deal, enormously. whether it's on social media where you have people who are trolling you, where people just come out anytime you share anything about your thoughts or views. Look, we can have very constructive conversations. We can have very constructive criticisms. Irrespective of the politics that we all do, I may be NDC, another is MPP or PNC and what have you. I believe that sometimes we must actually also show that we are ad idem in our condemnation of matters that do not bode well for our public discourse. Matters that go to the extent of physically causing fear and panic. Like one of the gentlemen said, some of the things that are said by some of these individuals can even cause a person who is the subject of these statements to live in fear and panic.
Yeah.
They can engender serious attacks and conflicts. Remember the conflicts in parts of Ghana, such as the northern region and what have you. They were actually as a result of little mishaps and pronouncements that were not handled properly or effectively. We know what happened in Rwanda, for example.
Yeah.
We know what has happened in places like South Africa, where they indeed criminalize hate speech because they know and they have a history of how that has affected them. But most importantly, we must all act together in tandem to condemn these activities. When I come on these conversations, especially about such matters that are within the public domain, you can tell I struggle to navigate very carefully, without seeming too much to bend or hinge it on a certain political coloration. Because, fear has no political coloration. Threats of fear, similarly. If you make hate speech and it leads to a certain outcome, it would not necessarily be about you or I or what political affiliation we belong to, but it would actually be something that would actually seek to create a certain discomfort one way or the other. Look, I recall when President Obama arrived here as a guest of late Professor John Evans Atta Mills. I recall him saying that Ghana needed strong institutions, not strong men. And I believe that is a comment that has actually resonated with most of your callers this morning. Yeah. If we have institutions that are strong and working independently, you find that the rest is easy because people do not really mind who it is. I mean, if you are the president of Ghana and you made a statement that people believe can, border on hate speech, why not? Immediately you'll be arrested. I try as much as possible not to look at analogies from other countries. For example, I listened to somebody who spoke about a military general falling out with the president and coming out openly to say so that he did not quite agree with the president's position on the matter. Here it will border on subversion. I'm sure people will happily come out and tell you that. They would even call on the head of state at any given time to fire such an individual. But freedoms where they are effectively guaranteed, when the person even takes that action, even you watching will be impressed because you see that he speaks with enormous wisdom. It has taken courage to get here. Even where a person is accused of a heinous crime, where the man believes himself to be innocent, the manner in which they will defend themselves will be almost as if they were defending themselves against an attack by a machete wielding criminal or thug. So in all of this, we need to navigate very cautiously. We must condemn all actions that bother, where your freedoms end, where another's freedom starts. Yeah. And much as we encourage people to speak freely, within those freedoms, there are also fetters. There must always be a caveat that you do not go beyond a certain narrative. Of course, Kojo, if I start in a and say, I'm going to come in here and deal with you. I have this huge, gun in my car. Naturally, I should be arrested because this is a threat to your life. Yeah. I have caused you to fear for your own personal security. If I drove past you and I took out a gun, shoved it in your face, and even drove off, that is a threat to your life. Immediately you should cause for my arrest. In fact, the individual should be allowed to complain. So, sometimes there's a certain imbalance that we all experience or observe, and that is why this conversation would usually appear to be colored more by politics. Yeah. That somebody has a right to legal representation is a right that exists anyway, irrespective of the crime. It is usually the actors, what you do, and how the person you're doing it to reacts. Recently, an interesting conversation has come up about taking your victim as you find them. If I were to shove you right now and you fell and cracked your skull and passed out, and the next day you were declared dead, I would still have committed murder, or at least manslaughter. But the truth is that maybe if I were the one in your shoes, I probably would be hit, fall on the ground, and probably stand up and continue walking. So there are all these complexities of this conversation.
Yeah.
And we could spend the whole day discussing this matter.
Sadly, we can't.
Exactly. But what I would want to land on is that we must first and foremost remember that within the freedoms that are enshrined in the 1992 Constitution, there is also a responsibility on individuals to be mindful of your utterances, irrespective. There is a reason why lecturers in particular would always be able to be protected from certain types of defamatory statements because you say so in a classroom, you say so on a pulpit. The law recognizes these exceptions to these individuals. But when you make statements that even though we do not have a law necessarily against hate speech, that border on a threat to human life, that border on a threat to one's security and safety, certainly this calls for condemnation.
Right.
But we do need strong institutions, strong independent institutions more than anything else. And I would look forward to every individual's rights being equally guaranteed by the same constitution that allows these freedoms. Right. So irrespective of what the person says, condemnable as they may be, there are many schools of thought. I have even heard people who have wondered at his mental capacity. So certainly, but all in all, if we have independent institutions carrying out independent duties and a mandate that is obviously equitable and fair, then I am sure that we will not be looking at any political, ideological issues per se.
All right. We're talking with Joyce Bawah Mogtari. We're having a conversation, and that conversation includes you. And of course, we've started off with a little bit on the apostle who was picked up for, threatening lives in a video. So, when we come back, it's time for us to reopen that infrastructure debate. I built it. No, I built it. Do we even care? After all, is that not their job as leaders? To provide infrastructure? Since when did it become a measuring contest? Or maybe that's exactly what it should be. When we return.
In a world where everything is changing around you, sometimes you need to turn to someone you can trust. You want to move with a change in safe hands, and we are here to help. At Societe Generale Ghana, we understand change because we have transformed and evolved. No matter how our name may change, 43 years of retail and corporate banking expertise never changes, ensuring stability and trust. Digital innovation as the world moves forward to help you adapt, upgrade, and keep up. Bank with Societe Generale Ghana and enjoy doing your banking your way, whenever you choose, in our digital zones with cutting-edge digital banking products and quality services. You deserve a better bank and great rewards. We agree, the world only moves because you make it move. SG Ghana, the future is you.
Hey, welcome back to work.
Charlie, thanks, bro.
The malaria really knocked you down, eh?
Charlie, no joke. Hey. Fever, headaches, vomiting, loss of appetite. I couldn't even eat my usual food.
You and Fufu,
how you go do it?
I hope you got tested before the malaria treatment.
Oh, yes, I did. And thanks to Malatu, I kicked out malaria one time.
Sharp. Anyway, sorry to ruin your excitement, but your boss asked of you.
Okay.
She says she has plenty work for you.
No problem, Charlie. Strength day.
Easy. Oh, yeah.
When malaria strikes, take Malatu, containing Artemether and Lumefantrine. Comes in tablets and suspension for the effective treatment of malaria in adults and children. If symptoms persist after 3 days, consult your doctor. Malatu is manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemist Limited. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Don't let COVID-19 keep you away from your favorite shopping destination. Visit the Junction Mall and observe the safety protocols instituted to curb the spread of the coronavirus. Grab your designer shirts, dresses, shoes, and bags with masks to match from our vast array of fashion outlets. Yes, get a free mask to match every dress you buy from the Junction Mall this season. Let's fight the coronavirus pandemic in style. Update your closet with the latest fashionable clothes and accessories at the best discounts of up to 50% off. Remember, no mask, no entry. Hashtag stay safe, hashtag stay healthy. Follow our social media handles at The Junction GH for further details. The Junction Mall. Join, explore, shop, enjoy.
Stay connected and get your favorite meal to come to you. Shop online for your household items. Take in the latest movies surrounded by the family from your favorite spot on the couch. Or do your weekly grocery shopping online while planning the family's favorite meal. Stay home and make every moment special with MasterCard at mea.mastercard.com/stay connected. The easy, safe, secure way to pay online.
The moms and dads out there, we are bringing schools to the radio. The Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, GBC and USAID are starting an exciting new radio education program. It is the Ghana Learning Radio, the reading program. Beginning 15th June 2020, some of your favorite primary school teachers will take you and your child through exciting, interactive and easy to follow radio lessons that will contain stories, interactive games and humorous characters. We are planning 2 sessions of reading for B1 to B3 for your child from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, with repeats on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 4 to 5 p.m. During this outbreak of COVID-19, stay safe and get ready for a whole new way of learning. Tune into the fun on Unique 95.7 FM Accra and all GBC radio channels nationwide. Learn to read, read to learn. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Education, GES, GBC, and USAID.
There's a faster and more reliable way to do mobile money. G-Money. GCB Bank's mobile money service gives you the freedom to send and receive money at the lowest rate from any mobile network just by dialing *422#. Check. The best part is you don't need to be a GCB customer to enjoy secure transactions with Ghana's safest bank and the widest branch network. Visit your nearest GCB branch or any branded G-Money agent with a valid national ID to register now. G-Money. Papa number. Chatum.
Your morning radio. Playing the music you love. The Super Morning Show.
From the NDC. She's a spokesperson for the NDC's flag bearer, John Mahama. Now, this was supposed to be a conversation that would include the NPP as well, and they are yet to provide us with a representative. So, show goes on, and Benji Rice Jasmine Fragrance Premium Perfumed Long Grain Rice. It's a new, tasty and affordable rice brand, and it's calling on distributors across the country. You must have a strong financial and operational background in order to get into this business. So apply to be authorized and accredited as a dealer of the premium perfumed quality jasmine fragrance long grain rice Benji. If you're interested, call 0244-980-181 or 0201-180-623. You can also reach them on info@addicentfoods.com. Benji Rice, premium quality, made in Ghana. Now, today's agenda is coming up, brought to you by Societe Generale, SG Ghana, The Future Is You, and Mala 2 anti-malaria drug from Ernest Chemist, providing quality and affordable medicine. So, there can't be any better time to boost your confidence, look, smell, and feel good with your favorite Nivea body care products and pay far less this June. They call it the Nivea Big Bang Promo. Now, from now until the 30th of June, shop for the 400 milliliter moisturizing body lotions for the men and the women, long-lasting roll-on deodorants, as well as the 500 milliliter Nivea shower gels, and enjoy up to 15% discount. Oh yes, you heard right. Walk into any ShopRite, Melcom, Maxmart, or Ernest Chemist and get more body care for less with Nivea. Also, you can enjoy amazing discounts on these products at Daddy Ash, AMAB, Fancy, Lilina, Yesumu Cosmetics, and other leading shops in Accra. Remember, this offer lasts until the 30th of June 2020. Nivea Big Bang Promo. Get more care for less. Now, if you're a student, please stay safe at home during this COVID-19 period. And while you're staying safe, use the time to gain work, money, people, and entrepreneurial skills through Absa Bank's free e-learning platform, Ready to Work. Absa Bank Ghana, through its Education and Skills Development Program, is offering educational support to tertiary students through the free online learning platform as everybody stays home. Absa's Ready to Work initiative enables you prepare for the transition from school to the world of work, and it equips you with contemporary competencies employers expect, as well as the skills needed to become a successful entrepreneur or employee. So go to readytowork.absa.africa to register and complete the modules within 1 month. The first 2,000 to complete all modules will be rewarded with free data. Absa cares, so stay safe. Now here's an important message from John Mahama, the leader and flag bearer of the NDC. John Mahama invites you to speak out on any issue that you believe is important to you, to your loved ones, or to your community, and of course to the future of Ghana. You can leave your message by calling the free Speak Out line and following the voice prompts. The number is 2500. That's 2500. Please note that there is no charge to you whatsoever when you make this call. John Mahama assures you that your message will remain strictly private and confidential. He urges you to speak out openly and freely so that your voice can be heard. Call the Speak Out line now on 2500 and leave a voice message for John Mahama. Right, let's get back to the issues. And we will be talking about infrastructure shortly, but right now, the voters register and the case that the NDC has taken to the Supreme Court against the Electoral Commission. This thing has gone on for some time. And this whole thing has been around the intention of the EC to compile a new register. That is a relief that in the current Supreme Court case has been dropped in favor of the other relief. But what does it mean? The NDC has been against the compilation of a new register from the very beginning. But in the back of some people's minds, the question is, surely a new register, a better register, a more reliable register, cannot be a bad thing, can it? Joyce.
Well, thank you very much. The conversation in and around the compilation of a new register has been going on for quite some time. We do know that since 2012, there's been this conversation that led actually to a biometric database that led to the compilation of a new register. We actually went biometric because we wanted to have a more robust system in place that would allow for us to continue from time to time to reform, to amend, and periodically conduct a limited registration exercise right up until 2016. So we now have biometric voters register. We have the little cute equipment that people use to, test the thumbs and use it as a mode of identifying the person who is actually registering or voting for that matter. And indeed, we had many times when they had to pilot these systems and test them. Indeed, the same equipment was used even for the referendum that led to the creation of new regions. We were actually going to use the very same equipment also for the registration for the referendum on the election of district assembly members and municipal members, etc. So these are matters that have been within the public domain for quite some time. Indeed, considering that all conversations, which usually would happen at IPAC, which is the inter-party committee that actually serves on the board of the EC, the reason why IPAC was actually established in the first place was to engender a certain platform for negotiations, for meeting of minds, for agreeing on all matters. Indeed, in the past, similar conversations had taken place. The difference with past conversations was that IPAC had been able to meet all the political parties one way or the other. Indeed, you recall also there was a very famous case led by an offshoot body of the New Patriotic Party, then in opposition, which was the Abu Ramadan case, which led to some reforms that were called upon by the EC to be made. Indeed, at the time, the Supreme Court made specific pronouncements, even led to the passage of CI 91, which actually clearly stipulated what documents of identity one could use for registration or for voting for that matter. So certainly this is a matter that is not in doubt. But what the NDC's position has been, that we only recently went biometric, that we only recently went through the processes to acquire this equipment, that enormous resources had been expended even to acquire this particular procedure, that the database as it stood was currently credible, that it was transparent, that if there was anything that required to be done, we could undertake a limited exercise. Note also that in the same matter before the Supreme Court had actually agreed also that the EC could periodically, from time to time, reform and make amendments and correct errors on the register. Indeed, what we should also have at the back of our minds, that you can never have an absolutely foolproof type of register anyway. It will give you to a certain reasonable extent. And what I am hearing for now is that this particular register gives you a margin of error of at least about 33%, apparently one of the best really this side of Africa. So be that as it may, the NDC has maintained a very consistent position. I recall when Madame Jean Mensah, who was appointed after Madame Charlotte Osei was ousted from that position, called on His Excellency the former president. She actually mentioned that the NIA cards were not in contention, that they were not even part of the documents that were going to be used as proof of identity or for that matter for registration. We also know that the NIA cards are actually ECOWAS cards. The ages that are allowed to register for those cards are actually from 15 and above. It is not necessarily from 18 and above. So it also beggars the question whether we're going to be able to decipher who is 15 or who is 18 unless we expect that whoever has not attained the age of majority will not actually attempt to vote and vote. Remember also that underage persons on these voting things have been part of the conversation for quite some time. So that is one. Secondly, do we even need, is it expedient? Is it economically viable? Is it a priority at this time to be going for an entirely new compilation of a register? And the NDC says simply no. So what the NDC did was to go to court. First and foremost, to seek a pronunciation or pronouncement on whether or not the vote EC should be allowed to compile a new register. In the alternate, that the voter ID cards, the existing ones, be allowed to be used as identification cards for a limited registration exercise. Indeed, I happened to be at the Supreme Court yesterday, and when the matter was called, the questions were then brought to the fore about whether or not one could seek relief from the Supreme Court and make alternate requests for either or, for one relief or the other. That was really the conversation. So indeed, their lordships, in their own wisdom, believed that if you were coming before the Supreme Court for an interpretation of a specific constitutional matter, that you should be seeking to rely on one relief, not necessarily on whether A or B. Indeed, I have also tried to cross-check on whether in times past there have been precedents where the EC, the Electoral Commission, or for example, whether the Supreme Court, has actually requested that we do not come with more than one relief or the other. But I believe the operative word here was to do with the alternate, which is what we had actually requested for. So they asked us to elect. Indeed, if they were to rule in our favor on the subject of allowing the voter ID cards to be part of the documents for registration, then certainly they will form part of the limited registration exercise that we expect to take place anyway. So this is as simple as the matter is. And I believe that on the 23rd, there will be a ruling. I do not want to prejudice or say that to be sub judice because the matter is before the eminent court of the land. In limine, I'm sure that they will come out with a ruling that we will all be forced to accept. And indeed, we all remember after the election petition, for example, even though the then candidate was not particularly pleased with the outcome, he actually said that because the court had ruled, he had no options but to be obliged by the directions of the court, and duly led a congratulatory message to the then president-elect, and
Right.
we moved on from there. So I
Okay.
look forward to the ruling on the 23rd, and I would want to say that, being a lawyer, you are bound by some ethics, and you would not want to in any way seek to color this conversation with any politics.
Understandable.
Because it is the highest court of the land. It is their mandate and within their bosom to interpret matters bordering on constitutionality.
I want to introduce and acknowledge the arrival of the Deputy Minister for Information, Pius Hajida. He joins our conversation on Political Friday. We're very happy to see you. We were hoping that your party would send a representative, and it's good that you have made it. Good morning.
Good morning, Kojo, and to our cherished listeners, and to my colleague on the other side, Honorable Joyce Bawah. Let me apologize for my late arrival. Our panelist, our representative, had some challenges this morning, and the information got to us rather late about her inability to join, and I was in the middle of another engagement somewhere, so I had to quickly make my way here, and so I hope and pray that we can be pardoned for our late arrival.
Well, you're here. So let's get into this matter, and I want to. My question to you is going to be your reaction to a quote. Okay, I'd like to have your reaction to a quote, which is directly related to this topic. This is from Franklin Kujo of Imani. He says, and I quote, "If someone had assembled the world's smartest people and given them the task to design the surest way to discredit the outcome of an impending election and stain the reputation of one of Africa's most respected democracies, they wouldn't have come up with anything more effective than what Ghana's Electoral Commission is now doing." Imani's position has been that the EC is motivated purely by the procurement of millions of dollars of needless, useless, expensive equipment for reasons best known to its commissioners. What has been impressive is how the EC has successfully manipulated the ruling party to assist in this scheme by offering them something they had always wanted: re-registration.
Well, Kojo, if you may indulge me, I think that even though I came late, I monitored the discussions on the radio as I drove here. I'd like to associate myself with the mood of the people of Ghana, and you could tell clearly from the phone-ins that came that relative to the subject you discussed first, the arrest and subsequent prosecution of the so-called man of God for the comments that he made, the mood of the people of Ghana. The mood of Ghana is that this is very much condemnable. It's distasteful. We should discourage such tendencies in our body politic, and that nobody should seek to justify this matter no matter what. I also get the sense that the people are saying that the law must apply no matter who is involved, and these are positions that we identify very strongly with, and we carry the position that we shall support the law enforcement agencies to apply the law. I mean, there must not be any interference, overtly or covertly. The police must be allowed, and all other law enforcement agencies must be allowed to do their work as professionally, as fairly, and as justly as they deem it fit. And so I think that the position is quite clear. It begs there's no need for repeating the sentiments and all. I also get the sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, that then the analogy is, or the suggestion is made, or that in times past there was a certain level of magnanimity, and that similar or crimes may have been committed, but because of the goodness of one person or the other, punitive action was not taken.
Tolerance is the word that was used. Tolerance is the word that was used.
I think that we should carry on with the conversation.
But it was also in a specific example I gave.
Yeah.
An individual's pronouncements.
Yeah. So I still think that we must discuss these matters so that people who do not quite understand what we may be suggesting will feel as though we're justifying it. And I think that it is the responsibility of any leader to make sure that when wrongs occur, the rules apply and they are punished. And so for me, argue that we had situations where wrong was overlooked, and the language that we are now using to justify that wrong in itself, overlooking of wrong, which is a wrong in itself, is that we are tolerant. If that is allowed to continue, you encourage decadence, and we will degenerate as a country, and very soon crime will become, or wrong will become, the new normal. But we do not want to encourage that, and I think that going forward, anybody who is given an opportunity to lead this country must lead by the books. And if wrong has occurred, and let's not be picky, and let's not also interfere. I get the sense on the flip side also that then it is us, the leaders, who determine what the police should do and not do. Because if I am tolerant, and because of my tolerance, crime cannot be punished, I definitely would have made a suggestion to the law enforcement people not to do this. So that is a clear case of interference if we stretch the logic.
Forgive my interference, but does that bother you then, this suggestion that the recent arrest of this apostle was ordered by some politicians? As politicians were claiming responsibility for instructing his arrest.
No,
is that not an example of what you are condemning?
That's exactly what I'm talking about, and that no politician can or should instruct the arrest or non-arrest, if you may, of somebody who has committed a crime or allegedly so. So it's wrong, and I don't want to give any credibility or credence to these claims of people suggesting that they instructed. I am not aware that they instructed, and I've checked. People may have assisted with information about location, but that may not mean that you issued the instructions. The police and the intelligence people, they have assets, they have their contacts, and they know how to get information. And so if they have cultivated a contact or they have cultivated an asset, and they can rely on the asset for information, and people have information, and that's what the police and law enforcement people, intelligence people rely on. So if you give a lead about the location of somebody, or you gave information that could lead to the arrest of somebody, that cannot be interpreted to mean that you ordered. So I think that maybe the wrong words were used, if indeed those words were used, or that we may be putting words in people's mouth or misconstruing what they may have said or may have meant. But the point I'm making is that it is not for a politician, be they ministers, be they deputy ministers like myself, or even presidents, to decide to say that go and arrest this person. No, don't arrest this person. Okay? So the confession that we may want to be making to play on or to touch the emotive keyboards of people that, okay, there's some tolerance and somebody else is not tolerance, may actually on the flip side hurt us as people and portray us as people who rather encouraged wrongdoing and played the ostrich, buried our heads in the sand, and pretended that wrong was not happening. It emboldens, if you may, criminals, and it emboldens people who want to do wrong. And very soon, wrong becomes the normal way of doing things. And so I thought that I should also quickly make that point. Now I can then move on to my brother Franklin Kujo.
Except that it's time for our next break. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll hear Pius Hajide responding to Franklin Kujo and Imani's position that this entire exercise of a new voters register is just EC wanting to do some procurement, and they have convinced the ruling party to support them by promising them what they have always wanted, which is re-registration.
What would you do if you have the chance to do anything in life? Build your dream house, take very good care of your family and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend waiting to support you on all of your life's choices?
You have such a friend in Glyco Life Insurance. Glyco Life has all the plans to meet your life's needs. Your child's education, your life savings, your mortgage, funerals, redundancy, and your retirement, and takes the burden off your shoulders. So go ahead and live life to the fullest today with Glyco Life Insurance Plans. And remember that all our policies are hedged against inflation. Talk to Glyco Life on 0302 218 500 or 246 142. Also visit our website at www.glycolife.com or any of our branches nationwide for more information.
Glyco Life, we cushion you for life.
Glyco, we cushion you for life.
It's time for Extra. Our unlimited Airtel Tigo bundles now last extra long. Simply dial *111# to make unlimited Airtel Tigo calls for 6 whole months at just 20 Ghana cedis. To the film.
Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
Because the greatest things are born from the smallest of thoughts. Just as your seeds in a rich soil grow to become trees that bear fruits, the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, helps you sow, invest, nurture, and grow your personal and business plans by serving you with years of banking ingenuity and experience in agribusiness, corporate and commercial banking, consumer finance, e-banking, and many more through our network branches across the country. Whatever the culture, whatever the dream, we grow with you. Call us today on 0302 210 210 or visit www.agricbank.com. ADB, truly agric and more.
Live sports is back on DSTV. No more waiting. No more speculating.
It's been a while. Is your heart racing yet?
It is back. The very best footballers from the very best leagues in the world are back in your living room.
Brilliant label making.
Stay connected or reconnect to DSTV and see the stars you've actually heard of in the only place you can watch them. DSTV, the home of live sport.
Stay connected and get your favorite meal to come to you. Shop online for your household items. Take in the latest movies surrounded by the family from your favorite spot on the couch. Or do your weekly grocery shopping online while planning the family's favorite meal. Stay home and make every moment special with MasterCard at mea.mastercard.com/stay connected. The easy, safe, secure way to pay online.
Accidents do happen. It could be a motor accident, a sudden heart attack, or even a stroke, or any other health emergency. The first steps you take are very critical. Should you be involved in or witness an accident, call 112 for the fastest ambulance response. With over 300 well-equipped ambulances all over Ghana, you are assured of the fastest response to your emergency call. Call 112 during critical health emergencies and save your life and that of your family and loved ones. 112, help will come. 112, we are safe. Avoid prank calls as they can lead to loss of life of persons in actual need of help. Be a responsible citizen.
Bringing you a sound you can feel.
La
9:20 on the Super Morning Show. Joyce, Bawah, Mogtari from the NDC. Pius Hajide from the NPP. We're talking all things apostle, election, infrastructure. Okay, now your home and household possessions mean the world to you. I know this. And I know you want to live free without worrying about what could go wrong. And that is why Hollard Insurance brings you Hollard Chat Insure via WhatsApp 24/7 with your virtual insurer, Araba Hollard. Now, as a homeowner or renter, you can sign up for Hollard's home or home content insurance right on WhatsApp chat with Araba. Save Araba's number. It's 0242 426 412. Okay, save it in your phone. Find her on WhatsApp and say hi. She will help you sign up and renew your purchase and even make claims. No need to talk to anyone else. Security against burglary, fire, and allied perils is available. Hollard's got you covered. Secure your home and home contents today with Hollard Chat Insure and sleep well. WhatsApp Araba on 0242 426 412. Now, as we stay home and stay safe, remember to keep safe when using LPG. So when you smell gas, open doors and windows to get rid of the gas. Now check and see if the gas has been left on, and if not, then there's probably a gas leakage. So turn off the regulator and call technicians to service your stove. Now, if it is safe to do so, try and locate the source of the leak by applying soapy water to the base of your cylinder valve or along the flexible hose. Now, if bubbles appear and become bigger or increase in number, then you have a leak. Knowing where the leak is helps to prevent accidents, and that is a message from the National Petroleum Authority. Thanks for all your text messages. We'll read a few more in a moment. They are brought to you by Glyco-Critical Illness Plan, GSIP. GSIP, it's in your best interest to survive. So, have you ever had a loved one suffer as a result of cancer or kidney failure or heart disease? The emotional and financial stress alone is very traumatic. Now, the Glyco-Critical Illness Plan, GSIP, has been designed to alleviate some of the financial burdens of critical illness, especially the burdens that are posed on loved ones and families. So don't wait until it's too late. Sign on to the Glyco-Critical Illness Plan, GSIP, for financial support when diagnosed with critical illness like cancer, stroke, kidney failure, among others. Speak to Glyco Life today for your GSIP policy on 020-2222-113 or call Glyco on the star number 45426. Download the Star Phone app from Google Play Store or App Store to experience more of Glyco. Glyco Life, we cushion you for life. So, before we took a break, we were talking with Madam Joyce, Bawah, Mogtari and Pius Hajide. It's Political Friday. And we've already exhausted the issue of the apostle who was arrested for some very unfortunate comments. Now we're getting into the issue of the voters register, the EC, and the challenge that has been put to it, the case that has been brought against it in the Supreme Court. Now, I just read to Mr. Hajide a quote from Franklin Kujo of Imani, and look, the summary of it is that Imani believes that the EC simply wants to do procurement. In order to do this, the EC has somehow managed to convince the ruling party to support them by promising them re-registration as part of the processes that will occur. Mr. Hajide?
Yeah, Kujo, I will not say too much about the Electoral Commission and issues of the voters register, and I would make more time to discuss issues of the infrastructure and to show to you that out of the 388 promises that the MPP made at the end of January 2020, for instance, we were able to achieve about 303 out of the 388, representing some 78% of our manifesto promises. For me, I would want to focus on those discussions primarily because issues about the electoral register have very little, or if you may, absolutely nothing to do with the government of the day. It's not our business. It is the business of the Electoral Commission, and where the matter is as of now, the Supreme Court, and if you may, political parties. And we are confident in the capacity of the Electoral Commission and the Supreme Court, together with the political parties, to resolve this matter and to get us a resolution.
But it's not a secret that your party supports.
Because the party is a stakeholder. The party is a stakeholder.
And you support the EC's
Well, I'm a
decision.
member of the party, but I do not want to create an impression in the minds of people that the government, but at a point we have to draw the line between a government working for the people of Ghana and the party to which I proudly belong, the MPP. As a member of the party, I am for a new register, a position that we have been espousing for years. But I'm saying that I do not want to belabor these issues too much. The facts speak for themselves. And what you read from Mr. Franklin Kujo, I've heard this same argument from persons who are opposed to change. It's a rehash of old words. When we started off as a country, we were using opaque ballot boxes, we were using cheats, and we were using black and white voter cards. We moved on to colored voter ID cards. We went on to biometric. The things that Mr. Franklin Kujo is saying today, when some of us, and especially those days in opposition, we were arguing for changes and to make the system better. Some of these words about is it a priority, is that the best way, and judicious use of resources at this time that we still haven't built all the roads, we still haven't built all the schools, and so on and so forth. These arguments were made. But time with time, the position of people who have advocated for change and fought for a superior election system in this country have been vindicated. And so I think that today it may be fashionable for Mr. Franklin Kujo to want to appeal to the emotions and to suggest that, oh, we can build schools, we can do this. But I know that over time, change and people who led the change will be vindicated. The fact of the matter is that the XTL, the producers, and the register is just paper. It is the biometric voter management system which carries the register, which for me is essential. Now the STL that provided the infrastructure, the technology supporting the register, which is the biometric voter management system, have written to the Electoral Commission to warn them that the equipment that you are using have approached end of life. And so it will be irresponsible for the Electoral Commission not to do anything about it. Number two, there have been constitutional challenges that have been espoused about even the current register. And if you'll indulge me, I'll just show you one. This is the CI, and Auntie Joyce here is a lawyer, and so she would even better appreciate than some of us. This is the CI that enabled the compilation of the register, and CI 72. If you check one of the clauses here, a person who applies for registration as a voter shall provide as evidence of identification one of the following: passport, driver's license, national identification card, national health insurance card, an existing voter identification card, or a guarantee form. This is what the CI says. Now, I also hold in my hands a training manual of the Electoral Commission. And Kojo, in that training manual, what the Electoral Commission did was to add documents that the CI did not sanction. For instance, birth certificate and also baptismal certificate. The CI did not add those ones. CI 72 did not add those ones. So ab initio there are problems. It meant that people could register with birth certificate. It meant that people could register with baptismal certificate. The law, the CI, the enabling legislation does not sanction that. So from the very beginning, there's a problem. And so for me, anybody who argues like this, and somebody comes to say, oh, cost is a limitation, let's not correct it, even though admittedly it is wrong, but it's a cost issue. For me, we are setting dangerous precedents. Again, you recall the Abu Ramadan case, and Auntie Joyce already spoke to that case. The Supreme Court held that using the national health National Health Insurance Card was wrong and illegal, and that the Electoral Commission should expunge the persons who registered with National Health Insurance. I want the Electoral Commission to help us explain what methodology they used to identify who registered with the health insurance, because they argued that they removed. I hold the form A1 that is used, the base document, if you are going to register. This is the form you fill. This is for the 2012 register. This is for the 2016 limited registration. In the 2016 one, you will notice that all the breeder documents that you bring to the registration is here. So if you brought a driver's license or a passport, it can be identified. On this document, I do not see any place for instance, a driver's license or baptismal certificate. I see some place for national ID. There's nowhere here that you could have indicated that you registered with National Health Insurance. So what magic did the Electoral Commission use to identify that, okay, Mr. A or Mr. B registered with the National Health Insurance? Again,
so are you suggesting that the Supreme Court, missed a trick here and accepted the EC's claim that they've done it without thinking it through?
Well, to speak to you more directly, I think that maybe upon hindsight, we should all now avert our minds to this matter again. Because
so you think the Supreme Court made a mistake?
Well, you see, Kojo, I just read a lot to you. I mean, and I leave it to your better judgment. People are listening. It's not for me to make the comments so that the newspapers can scream. That's not about it.
But we do want to understand the point you're making.
You understand that this
because
is what the law says.
Yeah, the EC didn't make the claim that they removed all of them. They didn't make that claim just to the people of Ghana. They made it to the Supreme Court.
I think that we should shift that responsibility to the Electoral Commission to explain to us. Maybe I am wrong, I don't know. But this is the form. Maybe they did some magic, I don't know. So maybe we should allow the Electoral Commission to explain to us how they are able to determine who registered with the National Health Insurance. I don't see it on their form.
Right.
But you see, for me, at the end of the day, I just gave you one example of the legal reason for anybody to even suggest that let's change our register. Now, the other reason is that people have spoken about the failure rate of our biometric machines and that they are 5%. That may be true, but they are being very disingenuous because the 5% occurred only during the district level election where we know that voter turnout is very low. There's not too much interest. Why is nobody talking about the over 12.6% failure rate during the general election of 2016? You recall that
the one that your party won.
Yes. You recall that in 2012, it got so bad that the then president up north made the point that if the fingerprints could not be taken, the Electoral Commission should allow people to do facial manual verification. You recall that?
Yes.
It was because of the extent of the failure of the machines. That is why the president then was forced. So it is quite disingenuous to argue that the failure rate is 5.something%, and you are looking at only the district level election where participation, where interest is very low. But for the general election, we all know the interest. We know the voter turnout.
How fatal is this failure rate anyway? And this is the last question I want to ask.
Well,
you. How fatal is it since your party still managed to win?
Well, if you used, for instance, the election results of say 2008, where we had to settle the matter in 10 with a few thousands of elections, then you will note that these failure rates are critical, and that we should not allow people to. The manual verification should be a mechanism of last resort. So, as much as possible, we should have multiple layers of scientific mechanisms. If those fail, in the most unlikely event that when the tampering verification fails and facial recognition, iris verification fails, then we can move to. But if you are going to say that when the tampering doesn't fails, let's go straight to manual verification, it can become an avenue for abuse. And we must discuss these matters dispassionately and with the national outlook. But I see a certain tendency, and from the very beginning, I want to say that for me, I think that the NDC has decided how they are going to relate with the Electoral Commission. You recall that the Electoral Commission was appointed on the 23rd of July 2018. On that same day, the NDC issued a statement and said that they were not going to work with Madame Jean Mensa. She had not even gone into her office to even sign a document, and they found fault. They decided they were not going to work with the Electoral Commission. So from that day, they have been shifting the goalpost and finding one excuse upon excuse. Now, finally, they are relying on Corona as the straw that will break the camel's back.
Right.
So, but you will see clearly that they have just been shifting. I see that we don't have too much time. So,
and like I said, I want to be fair to everyone. Yeah. So we literally have 4 minutes left. I'm going to split it between the two of you, 2 minutes each to wrap up. I'm hoping you use that time to touch on the infrastructure issue.
Wow.
But I'll leave that to your discretion. It's 2 minutes each, starting with Madam Joyce.
Well, thank you very much. I believe that my brother Pius has spoken very passionately, but certainly we all know that one of the most commonly utilized documents of identification here in Ghana is the voter's ID card, Kojo. Secondly, the work of the Electoral Commission is not to determine my or your eligibility as a Ghanaian or determine who is a citizen. It is only because I determine myself a citizen that I'll go and register to vote, and that I'm 18, I'm a citizen, and I'm old enough to register. So I think that we should leave these matters that really do not bother and bring about any profitable conclusions, except political chicanery per se. You do also know, secondly, that indeed there was an antecedent to the challenges that arose with the appointment of Madame Jean Mensa. Unfortunate as the issues have been, it is the history of it that is even more unfortunate and more condemnable. And I believe my brother Pius was on the other side when Charlotte Osei was put through all the things that went in. And it is something that I believe we should work as much as possible to blot out, so that it never happens again, that we take political discourse, use political disadvantage as a reason to hound an otherwise female competent enough for any job, even competent enough to be president of Ghana, and we hound them out using all sorts of means. It is still the same agenda. And if you're going to look at the politics of it, haven't listened to my brother, nothing has changed. It is all to undermine the democracy that we've all struggled to achieve. On infrastructure, let me state that President Mahama and the NDC's record on infrastructure is unparalleled. Short of the propaganda, short of the falsehoods that were peddled, when the pandemic struck, there was a whole debate about hospital facilities. We settled it. I arrived there with a green book. And I believe I mentioned when I got here that I would expect you to take it and fact check. That if he comes here and sits and says out of the 300 promises they made, they have achieved at least 70% according to the Vice President and 80% according to the President himself. And I believe he's also going along the same lines. If that is all that he's here to say, in 2016, the NDC's manifesto was adjudged by civil society organizations as being the most responsive. Could we then say that we achieved 90 or 100% of what was in? But let's come down to the basics. Check on all the roads that have been clearly put into this green book.
I'm afraid I have to cut in.
And secondly, I would want to say that record remains unchallenged on any day.
All right, Mr. Hajide.
No, I think that save our late arrival, this promised to have been an interesting discussion. I would.
You killed it, and I will not allow you to make yourself sound like a victim. You took the whole wind out of my sails.
I think that Auntie Joyce and I have agreed that we should do a repeat of and focus on infrastructure, because I think that we have to settle the infrastructure discussion. Kojo, governance is not all about mortar and bricks. Governance is also about the huge social investments that are being made. Governance is also about growing an economy that is capable of delivering the infrastructure. If you shrunk an economy that was growing at above 7% before you took over to 3-point-something%, you are limiting the state's capacity to deliver infrastructure. But if you grew like the NPP did, the economy from the paltry 3-point-something% to the average of over 7%, then you enhance your capacity to deliver on infrastructure. No doubt we were able to deliver on more infrastructure within this short time than the NDC. And infrastructure is not just about 2 or 3 trophy projects in Accra and a few selected regional capitals. No. Infrastructure is about delivering on the ground, even those small projects, through to the district level, through to the really big projects in the capital, like we are doing. The big projects such as the interchange that is up in Tamale now, the interchange in Fopasi, the interchange at the Tetepashi, and then the Temamoto Way interchange. These are the big projects, okay? But again, like the president rightly said, Auntie Joyce, I think that my small advice, as for the green book, go slow on it because we are fact checked and we will come out soon. You know what? You know what? Exist only in. You know what? We have to do what the people want. Forgive me for cutting in. We have to do what the people want. This is a conversation that is sparking a lot of reaction. People want to hear this debate. So we're going to have to bring you both back on time next week, so that we can get into this matter and execute it properly. Because as for let me apologize to Auntie Joyce Bawah personally. Okay, she came ahead of us. There was a challenge, like I explained, but I think that it is important that we still apologize to her. But she lost all the debates, the 3 debates. Pardon? On the infrastructure, on the electoral commission. I think the people will decide. I think the people will decide. Someone who just came in to say face. He heard that Joyce Bawah in the studio, and you can tell. It is why he couldn't even settle it. But certainly, tolerance is a key complement of the NDC and members of the NDC. I am actually. Thank you both very, very much for your time. Joyce Bawah Mogtari speaks for the flag bearer of the NDC, and Mr. Pius Hajide speaks for the president because he is the deputy minister for information. Thank you both. Thank you both.